Hey everybody, it's Katie with the Shepherd University Alumni Association. We're here again with another Roaming Rams Travel Talk presentation. Tonight we have Kimberly with us of Destinations by Kimberly, and we're going to be discussing two trips tonight, the Amtrak Train Tour and the Royal Caribbean Fall Foliage Cruise. So I'm going to let her take it away and go ahead and start presenting those topics.
Thank you, Katie. Hi, everyone. Kimberly. I am a travel agent here in Harper's Ferry, so not too far from the university. And we're going to offer two separate trips. One will be a group trip offered by Royal Caribbean Cruise Line, and a second would be potentially a group trip if you have some friends or family or other alumni. And we'll discuss how that's going to work here. I will go ahead and proceed. As I mentioned, that's me. So I have certified, insured, licensed, packages for both Royal Caribbean and Amtrak many times over. I'm actually a designated group specialist with Royal, so it's a separate certification. So we're all set with all of the aspects of a group trip on the cruise line. So a little bit about the Royal Caribbean cruise that we're offering. It's actually a fall foliage cruise. It's a little bit different. Maybe in the past some of you have set sail to the Caribbean, so this will give you something a little bit different than hitting the islands. The shoreline up from Baltimore to this destination in the fall is absolutely gorgeous. So we'll go ahead. Sailing will leave out of Baltimore. The ports of Baltimore, the port is actually open. I know there have been some questions with the actual bridge that had collapsed, but the cruise port is up and running. So this is actually a good alternative versus sailing out of Florida. You will not have to have a flight if you're more local to where Shepherd University is located and the surrounding area. So you'll start out from the Port of Baltimore. You'll have a day cruising, and then this will hit Boston and then head on up to Canada. So you'll see there the several stops that are listed, and then you'll have some days cruising and then back into the Port of Baltimore. So we'll just kind of go over this itinerary a little bit more. Like I mentioned, we'll be going out of the Port of Baltimore. And towards the end of the presentation, I'll go over the logistics of the port and gaining access to the ship in a little bit more in depth. And a little bit later on in the presentation, we'll also discuss more about the features of cruising day at sea. So then your first day in port will be in Boston. And as I'm sure most of you are familiar with, Boston is rich in history. So when you arrive in port, you'll have the opportunity to either explore the city on your own. There's lots of shopping. There's a lot of tourist areas near the Inner Harbor there in Baltimore. Obviously, it was the site of the Boston Tea Party, and there's a museum and some tourists centered around that. The food scene in Baltimore is amazing, so there's lots of places right near the cruise port for dining. And if you choose to just exit the cruise ship and enjoy your meal in Baltimore, anybody has any questions about getting reservations or where to eat, I'm more than happy to let you know what those would be. And then there are several excursions offered through the cruise line. There's a couple that are my favorite. One is called The Footsteps of Paul Revere. So you actually are with a historian. They take you along the tour and you walk the footsteps and you learn all about the other history. The same kind of happens with the Battle of Lexington and Concord. So if you are into history, those are great choices. There are some general city highlights, kind of a hop on, hop off, or just a kind of a tour that takes you around the city, and you can kind of see the city in a day. And then another favorite of a lot of cruisers, especially the gentlemen, is a tour of Fenway Park. So even if you've been to a game before, actually getting to tour the stadium and behind the scenes at the stadium, the locker rooms and things like that, it is a very historic place. So a lot of people enjoy that. So then we will move on. So then you'll be entering sort of the ports in Canada. They're gorgeous kind of harbor towns with lighthouses, a lot of kind of historic buildings, a lot of heritage and culture. And an amazing part too of this area is the seafood. So when you get in ports, there's a large number of restaurants to visit in any one of these ports. So the Sydney tour here in Nova Scotia, a lot of people like to do a pub tour. So it's got a rich kind of Scottish and Irish heritage in this town, and they're famous for their pub tours and crawls. So a lot of people like that. And it is also the home to the largest fiddle. They have an actual music museum, and you can visit the fiddle. And then most of these cities as well, they'll have your general city highlight tours, hop on, hop off. So you'll get to visit and get a great overview of the city in a day. And then on to Halifax. So a lot of people may or may not know, you may be a history buff or a fan or enjoy the history of the Titanic. Actually, the ship, a lot of the ships were set sail from Halifax out to the Titanic to recover, whether it be people or to recover parts of the ship. And so there's actually a Titanic tour, and they actually take you to the cemetery because there's over 200 people that were on the Titanic that are buried there, and they have the largest collection of artifacts in the world is housed there. Okay, so then you'll have your day at sea, another day to relax, and back into the ports of Baltimore. So as you can see here, here's some, as I mentioned, the fiddle and the lighthouses and some shots of all the harbors. And I tried to add in some kind of fall scenes. So with the leaves and the foliage, it's gorgeous. And you don't have to worry about, being hot and all the sand and good stuff. It's an alternative to the Caribbean. Okay, so as with most ships, they have several categories for their cabins, all the way from the interior up to balcony. This particular ship does also have suites if you're interested in an upgrade. And this ship too, they also have connecting cabins and family cabins. So if you are taking children or grandchildren, some of the staterooms can sleep up to 5. Or for a little bit more privacy, especially if it's a little bit older children or teens, they do have connecting cabins. So there would be a door, almost like a connecting hotel room. And as you could see there, they do have the balconies, so do your leaf peeping, so they say. And there are supplements for solo cabins as well. So if you're a solo traveler and you want to join the group, they have space for you. So we had mentioned days at sea. So generally you'll be sailing. So there's lots of things to do on the ship. There is an adults only area. Some people prefer that. And it's a solarium. And one great thing about this is there's an indoor and an outdoor section. So we did mention this is a fall foliage tour, and it might not be as warm as say sailing in the Caribbean, but the pools are heated, and this solarium has sort of the greenhouse effect panels over top. You could see there in the photo. So it actually does warm the space up. So it's quite relaxing. And then you'll see there they do have a full service spa. So it is a little chilly. You can get a massage and still relax. And of course they do have the pools. They are heated. And so you can enjoy them even though it's a fall cruise. So as far as activities, we mentioned relaxing, and if you do have the kiddos, they do have a lot of things for them to do. So if they are a little bit older, they can go ahead and experience one of the kids' activity areas. So this particular kids entertaining youth program, it almost works as like a daycare. So there are attendants in child care. They are certified. They'll entertain your child for you. You can drop them off, and they'll have lots of fun. They start at 2 years old to be able to leave your child. And they are by category of age, so your kid will be with kids the same age. This ship does have a rock wall. I think you have to be 3 and up to enjoy that. So adults can enjoy that as well. There's an arcade. You can be any age to play in there as well. So adults can hang out at the arcade. Of course, if you're one of those people that like to exercise on vacation, they do have a full service fitness center. They have classes. You could do yoga, Pilates, spinning. Those you usually just sign up for them. First come, first serve. And there is I had mentioned in the kids' child care drop-off situation, there is also a teens club. So it's kind of a hangout so they can meet other kids their age. It's set up with movie areas, gaming areas. It's really set up so that they can hang out in there, but and also socialize or not socialize. There's kind of private areas in there as well. And then another fun thing for a day at sea. A lot of the ships have classes now. This particular ship here, I know for this sailing they're going to be offering, because of all this fresh seafood available in ports, they're actually going to be doing a sushi making class, if that would be something that you're interested in. And I believe there's also a photography class on this cruise as well, just because of the scenery involved with this particular trip. And of course, entertainment. So obviously they have the Broadway shows kind of styled after New York. And then they do have a casino as well. If you are interested in that, you have to be 18 to visit the casino. And of course, dining, my personal favorite part. So there are several restaurants on board this ship, and obviously, as with most cruise lines, there is the buffet. There are a few fast casual dining options. as well as your main dining room. Those who may be new to cruising, your main dining room will be more of a kind of white tablecloth upscale dining event. And each night, or one night on your cruise, there will be a formal night. You do not have to participate, but it's always fun to dress up, one night on your cruise. And if you're interested in that, then when we discuss the trip, I can give you more information about that. This particular ship does have an Italian restaurant, a steakhouse, and a sushi restaurant. And it does have 24-hour room service, just in case you're interested in that as well. As I mentioned, along with the child care service that's available, they do have baby-friendly options as well. So some of the rooms are equipped with sleeping arrangements for children, but if you do have a baby, they do have crib and other supplies, so you don't have to bring that along with you. And as I mentioned, the connecting rooms for families who kind of want a little bit more space and enjoy easy access. And of course, the ship is accessible, certified. So they have ramps on and off the cruise ship. They have accommodations for medical supplies and medicine. There is an infirmary with a doctor on staff, and there are rooms that are accessible, handicap, both bedding and showers, and then also in the dining and main theaters as well. Okay, so this particular cruise will, as you saw on the itinerary, it will leave out of Baltimore on the 23rd and return on the 1st. So it does seem like sort of a longer itinerary because it is the 9 days. However, 3 of those are on a weekend. So you start just before a weekend and come back on the weekend. So you're really still only using that week's vacation. And the price you see listed there on the screen, that is for a cabin with 2. So obviously if you have more in your party, that would vary the cost, but that is for 2 and not per person. Like I mentioned, there are other room categories and the prices do vary on those as well. So pretty much everything I had mentioned in this presentation is included except for your excursions. So those, when you are in port, you do have the option to stay on the ship if you wish to stay on the ship. You can exit the ship and just explore these cities on your own with no additional costs. Or you can sign up for one of the excursions, and those would be additional. And then the casual dining and the buffet in the main dining room, that is all included. And there are the specialty restaurants I did mention. Those can have a fee included. The shows, the child care, the teens club, the pools, the Wi-Fi, all that kind of stuff would be included. Okay, so a little bit of the travel logistics I mentioned. So this cruise does go into Canada. So obviously if you are a U.S. citizen and leaving out of the Port of Baltimore, you will need a passport. And then that passport needs to be valid for 6 days or 6 months after the day that you return back from your trip. So a little bit of the logistics for the Port of Baltimore. So if you are local to the what we call the DMV, the area here, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., kind of Virginia area outside of Shepherd University, and you choose to drive to the Port of Baltimore, there is long-term parking at the cruise port. Obviously, there's a fee for that. There is also a passenger drop-off, so depending how far you are from the port, if you want to Uber or if you get somebody to drop you off and pick you up, that's always a great option. So if you end up booking, I do have port guides that I can send you. It will have directions on how to get to the port, which berth your actual cruise ship will be docked in, and it will tell you how to get through port security, where to park, how much it costs, all of the good stuff. So have no fear there. And then after you book with any cruise line, you'll receive a confirmation number. You'll go ahead and download the Royal Caribbean Cruise app, put your reservation number in, and then you'll be able to access your reservation. That's where you'll see the choices of shore excursions by date and port that you're in ship, your dining reservations if you choose to eat at a specialty restaurant, and actually the app will allow you to check in for your cruise ahead of time, and then manage your cruise while you're actually on the cruise. So it'll give you day-by-day list of itineraries and activities, shows, that kind of thing. So if you're not in the area of Shepherd University and you would like to still join us, that's great too. We did kind of pick this itinerary, to kind of make it a little bit easier for people who do live around here, but it's really easy if you don't. You just fly into BWI, and you could take an Uber right to the cruise port and join us. And I do recommend, depending on how far away you are traveling from to get here to the cruise port, the situation with the airline's been rough as late. So I do recommend coming in a day early and doing a pre-cruise stay. There are tons of hotels near the Port of Baltimore. I have personally toured, I think, 8 of them, and I can recommend, based on your particular wants and needs and budget, some place to stay. And a lot of those hotels do offer a shuttle to the cruise port. So you would not have to worry about that. And if you choose to stay after, same situation. And if you choose to do this, the ship does offer excursions for Baltimore, and I can offer you a lot of suggestions to eat or to tour or things to do in Baltimore if it's been a while, or there's some things that you want to see or do, or you may have been at Shepherd and never went to Baltimore. So if you want to experience that, we can arrange all of that. Okay, so part 2. So a lot of people are not aware of this particular product. I happen to love this product, so you might detect some excitement. So I love trains. I love riding on trains. Pretty much most of my trips revolve around trains. But so most of you have heard of Amtrak trains, with it being local here in DC and then out here in Harper's Ferry with the MARC train. So the whole concept of Amtrak Vacations is centered around the Amtrak train. So basically, Amtrak Vacations is a subsidiary of Amtrak, and what they do is they build vacations around the Amtrak train. So just to give you an idea, this is the proposed trip that we are featuring tonight. So just to make this a little bit easier, and we picked a shorter itinerary. There are train itineraries that can go up to like 24 days. So it can get lengthy. So we picked a shorter one. We picked one on the East Coast. We picked one going out of DC. Just to make it a little bit easier and more cost effective. And the same with the situation with the cruise out of Baltimore. If you are more local to the region, you don't have to worry about airfare and flights and things like that. So you would just jump on your Amtrak train to DC, and we take the train to Charleston. Now, what makes this an Amtrak vacation is you're not just purchasing a Amtrak train ticket, you're purchasing a vacation. So it's almost like purchasing an all-inclusive. So if you were going on an all-inclusive vacation, it's one package. So it will include everything. So this, you can take a look at this itinerary. We're going to go through it step by step to give you a better idea of what that looks like. So, like I mentioned, you go ahead and board the train. One of the great things about train travel, I think, is you can just see the U.S. Out the window. You know, it's a different perspective, and we'll kind of towards later on we'll go over the other benefits of train travel versus a plane or a cruise ship. But so you'll go ahead and board the train. So the first leg of this trip, Charleston, South Carolina, which is a gorgeous historic city, and that will take you about 9 hours. It is nonstop. When you arrive in Charleston, you will have a hotel room waiting for you. This particular trip, you have 2 days there, so you'll have 2 nights at the hotel. There will be a scheduled tour for you. As you can see here, it will take you on a tour of the mansion. You'll go to Rainbow Row and see all the historic houses. There is a tour available to see the Citadel. So it's basically a historic site of the entire region. As I mentioned, you'll stay overnight there. So then the next morning you will visit a plantation. You'll visit the gardens. They'll have a chance to explore by the river. The Audubon Swamp is there, so lots of gators and wildlife and things like that. And the entire time you'll be with a tour guide, so so you're not left on your own. They'll take you around the city, show you each thing. You'll see the history, and then dinner is included this evening. So you'll dine as a group at the restaurant. Okay, so then you'll get up and you'll check out of your hotel and report back to the train station, and then you're on your way to Savannah. One great thing about this itinerary is it's only 2 hours to Savannah. So you can take a little nap, maybe download your photos, take a look at those from your trip thus far, catch up with family, hopefully not work, and then you're in Savannah. So as I had mentioned, I think we may have skipped. Okay, so same situation. You'll have tour of the city. You'll have a tour guide. You'll be checked into your hotel for the evening. You'll spend the 2 days in Savannah, and then back to the Amtrak train station, and then you'll go ahead and depart for DC. So, as I mentioned, getting to Charleston was 9 hours and getting to Savannah was 2 hours, so it's 11 hours to get um, back to DC. So, what's included with this package? Obviously, your train ticket is included, and that's on all of the legs of the trip. And a great thing about actually traveling by train is you don't have to go to the airport and go through TSA and arrive 2 hours early, and go through screening and all that good stuff. So, you can arrive to the train station about 30 minutes early, check your bags, and another great thing is the policy of what you're allowed to bring on the train is a lot more relaxed. Each person is allowed to bring your carry-on item, and you're allowed to bring 2 full-size luggage items. They do have an additional fee if you want to bring extra, depending if you're one of those people. And then they do have luggage storage if you are going to be in Baltimore, but if you're going or in DC and you wanted to stay in DC after and you're not checking into a hotel, they will store your luggage. They do have that service. As I had mentioned, downloading your photos or checking in with family. So the train does have Wi-Fi. So while you're actually on board, you'll be connected, and obviously that's included. There's no additional fee for that. And then your hotel rooms, and if a tour is included while you're in a destination, unlike like a short excursion with a ship. All of your tours are included. Okay. I don't know why it's skipping. Okay. Okay, so the accommodations. So there's 3 choices of accommodations on the train. So I had mentioned how one leg of the trip would be 9 hours, and one leg of the trip would be 11 hours. So obviously the trip that, or the leg of the trip that would be 2 hours is not a significant amount, but the other 2 might determine what kind of accommodations you would like to have. Now, these trains are set up with cars that have these sleeping accommodations. They are for the longer legs on the train, or for those, like I mentioned, 23 and 24-day trips. So the first option is the coach option. As you can see there, it's sort of your bench seating. So you would be assigned that seating area, and so then as evening falls and you want to go to sleep, those benches do lie flat. There's bedding, and you can sleep there. It is kind of more of a public area, and then you would use the restroom in your train car. And then during the day, you can actually see in the middle of the photo, it looks like it's kind of a situation there that actually folds down. So it's a table, so you can enjoy your meal, play games, cards, your laptop, if you do decide you want to work, that kind of thing. And then, so it all converts. The second option is what's called a roomette. So it's basically, as it sounds, it's a little room. So it has more of like a sleeping area. Now during the day, they're almost like kind of like the Murphy bed, bunk bed kind of situation. So they do fold up, and then it becomes daytime seating. So you just have more of a private area. And then the third option is more of what in other areas you might consider like a suite type situation. So obviously it's the most expensive option, and it actually has bathroom in it. So the middle example I had mentioned, those rooms are all in a car, and normally there's 6 or 8 of those, and then everybody would kind of share the bathroom in their car. And the last option, you would have your own private facility. So, dining, another favorite topic. Okay, so the train does have actual dining cars. So I had mentioned that there's tables in your seating areas where you can eat. So they do have lounge areas and cafe cars. And that meaning you would proceed to the cafe car. It would be like a concession type stand situation. You would purchase what you want, and then you would take that back to your area. There's also sit-down dining. So you can see here, you can sit by the window, and you're actually served by a waiter or waitress type situation. They do have, so when I mentioned the accommodations, if you purchase or if you reserve that last category, which is your suite, all of your meals on the train are included. So even though it's a little bit more expensive, you do get the dining. So that is an option. And they do have a full menu. They do breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They also have coffee and tea service. They have snacks. You can go to the cafe cars for additional things in between the meals. And they do have allergy options, kosher meals, and vegan. So here's just some pictures. They have won some awards for their food. So it's not necessarily, I guess like frozen type situation. You could see they actually do have chefs on board. So a lot of most of their food is fresh. I've actually sampled a lot of things, and it's actually very good. And I don't know if I had mentioned, but you can also get beverages. They do have alcohol on board as well. So this particular itinerary, you can see on the screen there the proposed trip rate. So that would be, like I mentioned, you have your train, your ticket to your train. It would include all of the hotels associated with this trip, all of the tours, and then transfer to and from the train station. So it's a package price. Okay, so special services on this train, as well as I mentioned the cruise ship, it is accessible as well. So different types of disabilities they can accommodate. I mentioned the allergies and the food. They do have storage on board as well for medication, and they can offer services for dry ice. Very rare. Okay, so I had mentioned this itinerary, so we had kind of discussed this itinerary with it being close by the DC area and on the East Coast. However, if you're interested in any other type, I thought I would throw this in here. This is actually the Amtrak train rail map. So you can take the Amtrak train pretty much throughout the U.S., and then it does link to Via Rail in Canada. So you can explore that whole stretch in Canada as well. So if maybe this trip isn't exactly what you're looking for, these trips are fully customizable. So you can pick one that is already pre-packaged, or you can create an itinerary. Very popular one sort of in this region with other clients that I've booked. There is a trip that goes to Niagara Falls. And when you actually come in on the train, the tracks go along the falls. So your first glimpse of the falls is on the train, through the train window, and it's pretty cool. And then, of course, the national parks. You can kind of see out there with the Grand Canyon Loop, and then the parks in both California and then up to Glacier in Montana over to the parks in both Oregon and Washington. So those are extremely popular. And I'm able to discuss any of those at any time. Anybody wants to take a look at those. And I don't know if I mentioned, but there's actually 500 Amtrak stations in the U.S. So we can get you there. If you want to go there, they can get you there. Okay. So I don't know if I had included it in the slide, but I did want to mention if you are not in this area, same as with the cruise line, you fly into one of the local airports. Reagan is closer to the Amtrak station, but you can definitely fly into BWI or Dulles. We can make arrangements, jump on the train there. And the train is very kid friendly. I don't know if I had mentioned that, but it is family friendly as well. And I put on here my contact information, and I believe Katie will have that on the site as well. So that's all I have. I am open to questions. If you can't think of anything right now and you want to email me or call me, I'm usually always at my desk.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kimberly. That was a lot of information. I know that was two separate trips, so Royal Caribbean Fall Foliage Cruise and then the Amtrak Train Tour. And I don't know if you mentioned this, I can't remember if you said it about the train tour. We sort of have it set generally for September of this year, but people can kind of pick their own 6 days. It's not a set week or anything like that, so it's totally up to you, obviously within the range of, departure dates and things that Amtrak offers. But like she said, the cruise is more of the shepherd group type of activity, type of trip, and then the train tour is sort of on an individual basis, just something we wanted to throw out there for those who might, want to take the family. Either of these, like you said, very family friendly, so that's awesome. Personally, I love the fact that there's an arcade on the cruise ship because I love skee ball and I would probably be there every single day. That would be really fun for me. And honestly, the pricing, the fact that covers 2 people, and the same with the last travel talks we did with you for the Sandals Barbados, that also, if people are interested in that and missed that presentation, you can go to our website and see that, but that pricing is also per 2 people, not per person individually. So I think that's very enticing as well. Do you have any sort of the one question I always like to ask, do you have any tips or tricks that you've picked up along the way? Just good to know little tidbits for either traveling via a cruise line or via train. And I know train's kind of like one of those oddball things, not a lot of people have done it, so maybe since you're more into that, you might have a couple little tips for us.
Sure. Real quick, I did want to mention, I may have glossed over it. We did mention that the Royal Caribbean cruise is the group trip, and we will be having a couple of group amenities involved with that. So the group will receive kind of a welcome private cocktail reception, so you'll get to see who else from Shepherd Alumni Association is on the ship with you if you're not able to gain access to that information beforehand. And then there is the ability, depending on interest, if subgroups or the whole group, you want to do things throughout. I had mentioned the classes, the fitness classes, or the sushi making classes, the group dining aspect and excursion. So the possibilities are limited, but we definitely wanted to offer the cocktail party so that you know who's on board. You are there for 9 days, so you can maybe meet up with individuals throughout the trip and maybe see old friends or make new friends. So I did want to throw that out there. And then To answer the question, yeah, so I guess both of these, if you've never cruised before, it is a little different. There's going to be a lot of first time tips based on either, what to bring, what to pack, and obviously the destination is a factor in that. You will be packing differently to go to a fall foliage cruise versus a Bahamas a cruise in the summer. And then, what you can bring, what you should bring, things that are prohibited. And a great thing with obviously booking with my agency, I do have cruise packing lists, do's and don'ts, what to bring, and I do actually have one for a fall foliage cruise versus a Bahamas cruise. So I recently went on an Alaskan cruise, so I have that. So they're all separate packing lists and do's and don'ts. And like I said, there will be the guide to the actual port of Baltimore included in your package from me. And then, you'll have your shore excursions. I do recommend doing at least one so that if there is something that you're interested in, just because sometimes wandering around a particular area, like maybe Boston is very walkable. There's a lot of things right by the cruise port. You're going to get a great sense of Baltimore or Boston as a city just doing that. But some of the areas in Canada, those ports, so they're a little bit more widespread. They are walkable near the harbor. You'll have some restaurants and gift shops. But to really experience the area, I suggest an excursion or tour. And a lot of them are not expensive. I mean, they have some as low as like $50. So I always recommend doing an excursion. Let's see, another tip. I guess for the train, I do have the train packing guides as well. And then another feature that my agency does is a know before you go. So it will give you information about destination. Obviously, I covered needing a passport on this cruise. Other things, starting in May, you do need to have a real ID if you're going to fly into one of these destinations. If you're not sure what that is, more than happy to let you know what that is. I also give you kind of a guide about the weather in the area. Obviously, these are more U.S. and Canadian destinations, so language and currency is pretty standard, but so the destination know before you know guides are really helpful. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that was great, and a lot of inclusions, a lot of exciting information. You would give Kimberly a call or shoot her an email, connect with her to book either of these options if you're interested, and get all of those wonderful packing guides and pre-trip information. I think that's all the questions we have for now. So thank you so much, Kimberly, for presenting again. We're very excited about these trips, and we do have 2 final travel talk sessions for 2 other international tours coming up next month, and then very, very soon we will be announcing our 2026 trips as they stand currently. We're working on putting those together, so very soon keep an eye on our social media, our website, the Shepherd University Alumni Association pages for those announcements. So thank you again, Kimberly, and we hope you have a good night.
Thank you, you too.
Awesome.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.